We have Akash with us, and he is we can say that at a very young age, he got very like he's very ahead in life, and right now he is a senior developer at Sigtech.com, and he is an ex-Meta employee, a programming enthusiast, and he had developed a website for the PewDiePie. We all know that, right? And chat app, and Telegram bot also. And he's currently working on Rocket RPC, right, Akash? Am I
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I'm working on an open source library called Rocket RPC. Yeah.
Okay. So he is with us today. Thank you for joining us, Akash. He's today with us, and he'll solve all your queries and all the things, all the questions which pop up in your mind, as he is non-IIT and he's he's non-IIT and non-NIT, but he has set a milestone in his life. So here he is with us, and we have various questions from the viewers and from the audience we got from the survey we had done. So we'll do that later on. So it's over to you, Akash.
Thanks, Saumya. Thanks for introducing me. Yeah, I mean, I guess I am a full stack developer and a software engineer, although I prefer the term software engineer myself because, well, full stack, I mean, it was all software development before, and then we tried to split it to front end and back end development. And then when we brought it back, we called it full stack. But I mean, I guess that's what I wanted to speak about. Like, everything is software engineering in the end, and I guess that's what we should aim for as well. We shouldn't try to split it while learning development. We shouldn't like try to split it. We should focus on a programming language maybe and focus on problem solving. But I mean, we should never put ourselves into a hole like we are only one kind of developer, I guess. But yeah, so
yeah. So we shall proceed with the questions which are actually popped in the students' mind. As you're very generous towards that you are a software developer, but you are doing great in that field.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so my very first question is that you are graduated from non-IIT, like basic college, right? You're not from IIT, from NIT. So how was your journey? Please explain to our viewers.
Okay, yeah. My journey started from high school. I mean, I was interested in how video games work and how video games were built. So I taught myself programming during high school and built video games using the various tools available. At the time, Unity was quite popular. So I was building video games using Unity. That interest brought me into pursuing a computer engineering degree. At that point, I mean, I know what I was doing. I know where I was going to go. I know that, I mean, with the right skills, I could apply for any job and qualify for any job that I wanted. So I didn't really worry about like which college I was going into. I went into VIIT, which is Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology. I think it was the right college for me at the time because it left me with the curriculum was perfect for me. It just challenged me the right amount so that I could, in my free time, also focus on pursuing my interests, which was programming conveniently. And yeah, in my first year, it wasn't really programming related and I was just settling into college. So didn't do anything then. In my second year, I picked up web development I had wonderful seniors who were also just pursuing their dreams, like focusing on doing work while still in college. So they sort of mentored me into getting into web development at the time. I mean, people were talking about React and stuff in 2015, and like I didn't understand what the value of that would be, like of learning ReactJS at the time. So I went into web development around 2016, started learning these technologies, which were luckily coming into boom at the time. And from 2017 onwards, I started contributing to open source, just upskilling myself and showing my work online via my website and like posting to various blogs. And I mean, things just compounded from then. And then like I went into my first job in 2019-ish, which was a really cool job because I got to build things from scratch for a startup using the tech stack that I wanted. So it was Next.js, ReactJS, all of the technologies which are in like at their peak right now, but were just starting out back then. So it was just building things and then having my portfolio of work compounding over itself, I would say.
So, like, what is your advice for the students who are currently in a college and pursuing like degree in CS or IT, or if they are from other streams also?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what worked for me and what might work for other people as well is to find something that you are able to do even when you're bored of it. So for me, I mean, I can do computer programming or like building apps even if I'm bored of it, because I mean, people say follow your passion, but I mean, that's not generally the way, because not every passion leads to like a job which pays you well enough to support your family. So we can choose like the kind of talents that you are good at, and also which will also give you a job in the future, sort of like that Venn diagram. And yeah, just keep on building on those skills, and also, I mean, posting about them, because if you don't share what you're good at, then you're not exposing yourself to those opportunities.
That means candidates should be very much up to date on the LinkedIn, right, these days, right? So that
Yeah, LinkedIn, or having a blog, or I mean anything which gives you views on your things.
okay. Okay, so my next question, I guess those candidates must have got their answer. So my next question is, if we talk about the full stack development, how a person can proceed in that? Like,
Yeah, I think this is a great question, because I mean, people are really trying to push for full stack development, and it has become the buzzword nowadays.
yeah,
And I feel like, I mean, as I sort of said in the introduction, like, don't sort of put yourself into a whole, like you're a full stack developer or your front end or your back end, but just focus on holistic skills, like focus on problem solving skills, and I mean, just being better at whatever programming language that you want to use. I mean, if you can build anything that you can think of, then at that point you are a full stack developer by default. So I mean, just keep building things is my advice for that as well, I guess.
the more practice leads to your more focused approach would be like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So my next question is like a value of upgrading skills for a working professional. Like they should, if they have to learn many courses and all like that, or they go going further, like they had learned one thing and keep on just practicing on that. What will be better?
Totally. Like, I mean, so in terms of whether people should focus on multiple things at a time or should just focus on one skill, I would say if you are already, I mean, as a college student, it's easy because there's no responsibility on you, hopefully, and also you have a lot of free time to pursue your interests. So as a college student, feel free to like pursue multiple interests. But if you are fully employed and you have like responsibility to feed someone, things like that, then you should only focus on one skill at a time mostly, and try to get good at that, and then and once that skill is done, then focus on other skills, things like that. And in terms of, I mean, I guess a question I get several times is, I mean, if I'm already like employed in a different field or something, and if I want to get into web development, is that possible? And I say yes. I mean, in India, I saw several people who were like in their 40s and even 50s who got into web development at that age because that's what interested them. I mean, people even in the UK, I see like people who were policymakers and stuff like that for, I mean, half of their total career. So they have like 20 years of experience in writing policies for the government, and then they try to upskill themselves because they are I mean, they want to get out of that field and they want to get into like an easier field where they can sit at home and take care of their families. So they try to get into courses like what Skywriter is doing for web development. They try to get into courses like that, upskill themselves, and get into those jobs, those kinds of jobs. So like there's no age limit, there's no limit in programming at the moment. So at this moment in time, it is the perfect time to get into programming. In the future, that might change because we know what the changes are occurring with AI and everything. So at
Yeah.
this time, it is the perfect moment to get into programming.
Okay. But we are seeing that recession is taking place these days, right? So how it's
Yeah,
going to hamper the current job scenario or the coming future?
yeah. I mean, recession is there, and because of the basically, in my opinion, the recession has mostly been related to companies where they have either overemployed during COVID, or they were running on investor money. And then since due to the, I mean, since the COVID conditions have run out and interest rates have dropped to their normal ranges, so investors don't have enough money to invest into these companies. That's why a lot of companies have stopped hiring or have let go of employees. And yeah, that does make the market a little bit difficult, but people who are skilled in their jobs still find the right opportunities, because those kinds of, I mean, the kinds of startups that you would want to work at, like profitable startups who are still uh, you know, they are earning money and they want to hire people because they are earning money and they want to grow. They are still hiring and they can't find enough skilled engineers. So I mean, the right answer would be to upskill yourself to such a level that no interviewer has a chance to say no to you when you are interviewing at that company.
Okay, that means moving towards the giant companies, we can also go for the startups so that we can upskill ourselves, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just, yeah, I mean, don't give an interviewer a chance to say no to you when you're interviewing with them, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, I got your point. But the main thing is that freshers, like they generally they won't go. They just go for the giant companies. They want to work for the giant companies, right? In the initial days only. Correct. So, what would you advise? Like, they should like go for startups first of all, or like a small like the companies which are growing in their growing stage, not like
uh,
HCL or FB, like Facebook and all, Meta and all. So,
right. I mean, if you get the chance to get into Meta or Google or any of these companies right out of college, then go for it. But for the most of us, that's not really realistic, because these companies have a, I mean, it's like the requirement, the difficulty of interview is inversely proportional to the position that you're applying at. So what that means is that for fresher levels, the interviews are really difficult, and then you're competing with a lot of other freshers as well who want to get into that position. But by the time people get more senior, they generally know where they want to go, and many of them don't want to work for FANG companies. So the competition is less, and also the interviews might be easier because you have a lot more experience in that field. So at the start, I mean, if you know you're going to qualify for a FANG, and you know, like, you have a contact with a recruiter, or a recruiter reached out to you, whatever, then definitely go for it. I won't stop you from doing that. But for the vast majority of us, including me, it wasn't a feasible option, because I didn't want to grind out lead code throughout my life and then, hope that I get a job at a FANG at the end of the day. For me, though, so the path I chose was I worked at a startup where I was interested in the technology. I mean, basically they had no, they wanted to build things from scratch. So I could bring in my technology stack and build things the way that I wanted to. And also the problem space was interesting. And so, yeah, I mean, that was the perfect decision for me at the time. So if you find a startup which is paying you well enough so that you can support your family, again, I will never say, like, underpay yourself, or take a pay cut, because then that makes it more difficult for you to support your family. And that's what we are all doing at the end of the day. We just want to support our families and lead a good life. So just, focus on your money, how much money you're getting, and also, like, try to aim for as small of a company as you can, while also getting a good enough pay, because the smaller companies are where you get to make more of an impact and write better stories which you can tell in for the future interviews, which also increases your employability. So yeah, it's all about the long-term game, this case, I guess.
okay. Uh, So we have a question that please just tell us about your journey to Meta, how you just reached there, and what were the problems you have faced actually.
Yeah. So I have sort of written an article about this on my blog as well, but I will give a short sort of description of how that journey went. I mean, so the story that I've told about myself up to this point, you guys know that I was doing I was already passionate about game development. I mean, about programming in general. Again, as I said, like passionate meaning like it's not that I wanted to do programming every day, but even in the days that I didn't want to do programming, I could do programming. So I mean, I was just trying to build my skills regardless of how I was feeling on the day. And I did that for a while, went into web development, got a job at a startup, did that for 2 years. During COVID, I decided to go into contracting because I wanted to explore that field as well. I contracted with multiple companies, one company in India and multiple companies in the UK. And what contracting basically involved was because I was posting so much content online, and because I had a network that I could tap into, I was getting like inbound leads on uh, people who wanted like contractors to work on their project, or I could reach out to, I mean, I could see people who were wanting to hire contractors, and I could reach out to them. So I could do that for 2 years, where I was yeah, working for them. And also, since so one of the companies was in India and the rest were in the UK, so I could like tap into that cultural barrier. I mean, I could cross that cultural barrier as well, and work with people from the UK. And then eventually that interested me in working in the UK as well. So at the end of that journey, it was like at the end of 2021, I had about 4 years of work experience, and I wanted to work in the UK as well. Luckily, around that time, I mean, again, from my content, one of my friends who was applying for companies internationally, he got in touch with me saying that he had a Meta recruiter reach out to him, and he referred them to me instead, as he wasn't really interested for working for Meta at the time. And through that recruiter, I just interviewed at the company. I had to wait a very long time for the visa because of the situation that was going around early 2022. And then I finally got in, and that was sort of my journey. So it involves a lot of luck. Again, I mean, these things don't happen automatically and like magically. You have to work really hard to like put put yourself put your name out there, and also like you have to build the right network of people who can connect you with these opportunities, I would say.
Okay. What was the specialty of the Meta? Like whatever you have learned there, the company, do they have some different kind of environment? Like student want to know actually.
Definitely. I mean, every company is quite different. uh, I want to write about this as well, about what I learned from working at Meta. And I think like I learned a lot of really good things from there, because Meta teaches you independence. I mean, again, like I feel like a lot of the content that social media influencers put is false, and also they probably don't do their job much. So I like to talk about things from an actual software engineer employee's perspective. So it puts the focus on like independence of the individual. Like you have to choose your own tasks and define your own work. You have to show that, I mean, basically Meta is hiring you because they feel like you are independent enough to work on your own and also create impact on your own. So those were the people they were trying to hire. And I mean, yeah, it involves a lot of independence, creating documentation for your own work, and also improving. I mean, if you are touching any other code base other than your own, it is expected that you improve that code base as well. Like there's a base expectation of everything being better over time. So I feel like that was what was very different about my experience at Meta.
Okay, I guess the candidates got their point. Okay, so our next question is like Rishabh wants to ask you that please give them advice on how to look for remote opportunities in India.
So are you asking about remote opportunities for companies within India or outside of India? Rishabh?
Outside India.
Okay. So, I mean, so it's a iterative process. I feel that it's an iterative process. For some of you, I mean, it might be more natural for you to directly work for companies outside of India. But if you have to ask that, how do I find remote opportunities outside of India? Firstly, try to find remote opportunities inside of India. I mean, if your next question is how to find remote opportunities inside of India, then look for companies within your locality first, because it's all a iterative process. You can't, I mean, everyone has a different answer for this, and no one can tell you how you should approach, how you should go about that process, I would say.
Okay. So we can go for the different websites who like go for the interns, like ask for the interns and all, right? So that they can just have the experience.
Yeah, that might be a way. I mean, that might work for you, but again, like with how dynamic, I mean, once we are talking about how to search for employment, we have to consider like the current employment situation, the current like market, how the economic market is going, and all of these things are too complex for one human to understand. So I never try to give advice on these kinds of things.
Okay. So my next question is, like, how difficult is it for someone who don't have any idea on tech, and then he wants to become a developer? As you said, that the some policymakers wants to become wants to go for the web development and all. Like, is it?
Yeah.
It might be very difficult, right? Or what would be your advice on that?
I mean, yeah, of course, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's very difficult because I mean, it's not like I know one policymakers. I know at least 5 people who were working for the UK government, who were at around the age of 35 and then went into web development. Or again, like they don't call it web development. Everyone calls it software engineering, anyways. So I mean, there's like several examples of people here, and I feel like there's examples of people in India as well, because there is no one stopping you from changing your jobs and like going into a new field as long as you have the skills for it. So yeah, I mean, I guess can you repeat the last part of the question again?
Yeah, sure. Like, if a person is if it's a person is not from a technical background and he wants to go for the web development, like what would be the case then?
Yeah. So again, I mean, it's feasible, and again, how would it work and how does it work is not a question I can answer. It's a question like institutes like Skyrider can answer for you.
Okay. Like, but a person can just go for it if the person wants to learn, then it might not be very difficult to learn that. It only depends on the will of the person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is, can you just throw some light on your projects like Rocket RPC and all, Telegram bot, your chat app?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all of these projects were brought out by a personal need. I mean, everything is solving a need that I have in my own life or the work that I'm doing. So the Telegram bot that I created initially, I just wanted to experiment with what a chatbot would look like. And Telegram being a being a chat application that you can use on literally every platform out there is like a very easy place to build a chatbot for. Initially, I was just building simple apps, trying to like build calculators or something which would answer back in natural language, things like that. Later on, I was trying to automate my life a little bit as well. So I try to send myself like the top articles in technology which were created on that day. So the top 5 articles, and also like what the weather for the next day would look like, and a bunch of calculations based on the weather. So these would be like what time I should ideally sleep at, what time I should wake up if I want to get ready before the next day's meetings, things like that. So I mean, it's like very simple calculation, and it's all on my GitHub, so anyone can go and have a look at it. So
you want
that's
technology to make your life easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So candidates, you can also use your codes to make your life easier, like Akash did. Right, Akash?
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, okay, which programming language is preferable for selection in Facebook? We can say that.
I would say any programming language which helps you keep your interest is good for selection at most companies, because I mean, I guess that would be a bit of a lie because some companies are only selecting for specific programming languages. In the case of bigger companies, I mean, at least when I gave my Meta interview, and I think this is public knowledge as well, that they don't interview for a specific programming language. So you can give your interviews in any programming language, and as long as you pass those interviews, they are happy about it. So I mean, it can be any programming language, but it should be a programming language that you can uh, get to the end with, and also like a language that you know all of the fundamentals of. So you should be able to build anything with that language, is what I would say.
Akash, there is always a trend in the market, right? Like this is going these days. Like this language is very much in demand. So, according to you, which language is currently in demand?
Again, so Stack Overflow does a nice developer survey every year. They have done one for 2022 as well. So if anyone wants to have a look at what language is actually trending, they can go have a look at that. And they might be surprised to see that a lot of languages like PHP and a lot of old languages like Perl and COBOL are still in use. So again, like even though, I mean, we feel like JavaScript or Python might be the latest trendy language and everyone's building applications in that, people are still building applications in old languages. It's just that, I mean, people building in those long languages don't talk about it as much as the other ones are doing. So yeah, Rishabh posted about the Stack Overflow survey link. Anyone can go and have a look at that. And like, I don't think my answer would be any better than what millions of developers are saying, what their favorite language is.
So it's basically on your own, depends on you that what language you want to go for, and you should have a mastery of that, right? If you are
Yeah,
master
exactly.
that, then that is okay. Something will hire you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that I've said are generic, but one thing I would definitely say is like you should have a mastery of the language that you're trying to interview in, because you should never, I mean, there should never be a question of you. I mean, you should know what you want to Google for, even if you want to ask that to the interviewer. So you should definitely have a mastery of whatever you'd want to work in.
So my next question is that what are the opportunities, biggest opportunities out there in the market right now? Yeah, these days. Yeah, in past few months, what you have seen? What is the growth chart and all?
So I don't know about the growth chart. I guess, I mean, the number of open jobs have probably decreased over the last few months because of the current
Recession.
economic downturn. Yeah. But in terms of the opportunities, again, that depends from person to person as well. Like, what opportunities do you qualify for? What opportunities are you actually looking for?
Mhm.
So, I mean, definitely there's should still be like good opportunities in companies that you would want to work for out there. And I mean, sometimes you don't find them in situations like the current economic downturn, but then, I mean, just find any job which helps you sustain your life for now, and then aim for a better job later, I would say.
So a person should go for all the type of jobs, in India also, in abroad also, he should apply first, and he shouldn't just walk around for the jobs which is out of reach actually. But he should get experience first, and then make himself capable, and then go for the jobs which are in the market. Which are the giant companies who are opting for the candidates, right?
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is, how did you set yourself apart from others who wanted the same job? You must have done something like you go for the video games in their school days only, and
yeah. I mean, I was building things from the start, and like, I mean, how did I set apart myself from the other candidates? I mean, how did I set apart myself from the other people in my network? Even like, I mean, how can you? I guess not. I don't want to say how did I do it, but how can you set yourself apart from other people in your network? That's what you should aim for first, because I mean, there's all these platforms out there, LinkedIn, Twitter. You already know what your network does and like what they're doing in their day to day. Because if they're posting about it, that means that they want the world to see it. So just build something which is similar to them. Maybe collaborate with them so that you get to the same level as well, or maybe build better projects. which sets you apart from them. So for me, that involved like a lot of content generation. I was also doing a podcast regularly where we posted people from, I mean, like not social media influencers, but actual people who did the real work from Google and like other big companies. So that was really fun and what got my name out there at the start. So I mean, find out what works for you and just focus on it.
So students should go for projects online, and whether they should go for the projects which are posted online, and they built it on their own, and then repost it to the with the like collaborate with the companies and all, right?
Yeah, maybe collaborate with them or even build their own projects, or I mean do something which sets them apart, I would say.
Okay. So what is your vision for the IT industry?
For the IT industry, I mean, I guess that's a really complex question. Again, I'm not really an economist, and like I don't know how to read growth charts, stuff like that. So um, from what I can see, I mean, I guess the default answer in most cases is that things will mostly remain the same, because even if you I mean, go from the dot-com bubble to like 2023 or whatever, and you look at a 5-year period at any time, the technologies don't change that much. What you see large changes over is like if you look at 10-year periods, because at the start of 2000, we didn't have mobile phones. We were on like desktop computers with blocky screen and like no responsiveness. I mean, these concepts weren't there in the zeitgeist. And if you look at a website from 2010, then suddenly like people were accessing their websites from mobile phones. We had Facebook and I mean MySpace and all of these different social media websites which were publishing applications everywhere. So you can see more of a trend over 10 years than over 5 years or even 1 year. So I feel like, I mean, my answer would be if you ask me how things would change between 2023 and 2025, I would say things will mostly remain the same.
Okay, matlab we can say that in our coming future, things will be like same, like they'll go in the same pace. Little bit difference will make some difference, I guess. Little bit gradation in technology and all that, but no big changes like is going to be seen in coming few years, right?
Yeah. I guess. I mean, although I can't predict things, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is, what was the biggest challenge you have faced today?
What was the biggest challenge? I guess I have faced several challenges. I mean, one of my challenges was that I had quit my contracting gig and I was waiting for my visa to come to the UK. And if I hadn't gotten my visa on the time, I would have had to wait for longer and longer, which would have, like, I don't know, maybe made me lose a lot of the opportunities that I have gotten right now. So that was a challenge, because I mean, all of these basic things are always there, I guess. Other than that, uh, what other challenge? I mean, when do you leave a job? Like, even whenever I've had to think of that, like that's always a very difficult question to answer. And then going through that's always quite challenging as well, I think.
Okay.
So
just can you just give us like the Rocket RPC on what you are working, right? It is related to some you are going to you are delivering some lectures also, like you're posting some things on your that blog. So what kind of stuff is that? Like you just want to, like, people can interact you on that, or you are just helping the students? What kind of thing is that?
yeah. So Rocket RPC is basically a library which allows you to expose server-side methods and objects to your client. So basically, instead of having to write an API or a router or anything complex like that, you just write a method, then you access it from your client. That's it. And I mean, that was the initial proof of concept I wanted to go on. So I'm just talking about that at most meetups, and I want to make improvements upon it now. So I can, I mean, like I can hopefully increase the user base for it a little bit.
So it is a library. So if
Yeah.
people can go and just this library will consist of the codes and languages.
Yeah. It's a JavaScript library. I mean, library meaning it's a piece of code that people can use in their in their uh, in their application. Yes.
Okay, if the person wants to use that library, how a person can approach to, like, how?
It's on npm. It's on Node Package Manager, so people can install it via that.
Okay, so it can be used by freshers also and for the experienced candidates.
Yeah, anyone can use it.
Okay. People, candidates who are there, they can ask questions, they can post on chat. So I can ask the questions.
Yeah, Rishabh posted a link to Rocket RPC on the chat as well. So
yeah,
you guys can use that.
Do you see solid JS and the quick taking over React? This question is Rishabh's question.
Okay. So I didn't see React taking over raw HTML. I mean, writing apps with HTML and JavaScript. So I'm probably not the right person to ask whether Solid.js or Quick will take over React, because even though I was doing React, I saw it like a hobby. I didn't see like I would actually make a career out of it in the future. So if you're really interested in Solid or Quick, then go and learn it. If you just want to get a job, then focus on React.
So we have market of React these days, right?
Yeah. And again, like it was just luck. I mean, for me, that I was learning React, and then later React became a big thing. So everyone just needs those kinds of lucky breaks. Yes.
Okay. Anyone wants to ask any question to Akash? You can raise your hand and you can unmute your microphones. Anybody?
Hello.
Yes, Anand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Hi. So it's actually very nice. Really proud to see an Indian growing this way, and seeing
Thank you.
seeing him or her talking in front of us. So thanks for providing guidance and all. So I'm actually from
No worries.
automobile. Actually, I'm from automobile sector. So I just want to know that if I want to join this software engineering field, then what skill would be the easiest skill for me to start in that field?
I would say software engineering itself is the skill that you want to aim for. And the best way to look at it would be to look at like either online courses. I mean, if you feel like you're able to do it on your own, you can find the curriculum online. If you want some sort of a guidance, then again, we are talking on Skyrider's platform. So Skyrider is someone you should reach out to as well. But I mean, that's a question that you have to answer for yourself, and you should get guidance from people who are actually expert in this. I mean, I don't run a course on like web development or something myself, and I mean, people that, as I said, like people are able to go from other fields into web development or any other software engineering field. But yeah, this is a journey that you take for yourself. So I can't answer that question for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Anyone else who wants to ask a question? S. Sondhar, you have raised your hand. S. Sondhar. Initially.
Ma'am?
Yes. Yes, you can ask question. Unmute your mic.
No, ma'am.
Yeah. You are very much audible to us. Just unmute it.
Or you can ask your question on the chat as well if you want to.
We have next question. Yes, Sombhir, are you there? Okay. We are moving towards the next question. Yes, Sombhir, just put it in your chat box so that we can read it there. Rishabh is asking, people in software engineering often advise become a specialist.
Hello.
Devbir Jeevan, just wait for a second. We can move towards the next question. Okay. So the question is, the Rishabh is asking that people in software engineering often advise becoming a specialist, either in front end, back end, development.
Hello. Hello.
That N. Vishwanath, please just hold for a second so that we can answer one by one. Okay. And lots of companies do hire people who are specialists, but how does being a journalist plays out in the long run? What are the career prospects of the full stack engineer?
Again, Rishabh, I feel like I've spoken a lot about this already, but in short, if I reply, you can specialize, but in the end, like, I mean, we are seeing I feel like we are seeing a convergence, and this is a prediction. This is one prediction that I make that hopefully works out, that I think in the end, we are not going to worry about like people being called front end, back end, or anything. We are just going to start calling them software engineers again. And especially I'm seeing this in the UK now, and I feel like, if I'm seeing it here, then in India, it might be there in like maybe 6 months or a year, like where people stop hiring for specialists again and they want more generalist roles. And how it works out in the long run, again, it's mostly dependent on the sands of time. We can't really predict that.
Divyajeevan, you can ask question now.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello,
Good
sir.
evening.
Yes, sir. Sir, as you are a software engineer in Meta, I have a question. In JavaScript, how much year will be in the trend?
How much JavaScript will be in the trend, in general, or in the future, or
In the future. In the future.
So there's a popular law in in web development. People like to say Matthew's law, no, it's Atwood's law, sorry. Atwood's law, that any application that can be written in JavaScript is eventually written in JavaScript. And I like JavaScript and TypeScript myself, so I hope that turns out true. And everyone who is learning JavaScript has a lot of employment in the future. So, the most likely scenario is that yes, in the next 5 years, like JavaScript will have a lot of value in the market. And how does it work out in the next 10 years? I don't know. Nobody can predict that.
Yes, sir. Sir, if you have the two options between Angular and JavaScript, what you will choose? You will choose.
AngularJS is written in JavaScript.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Divyajeevan. N. Vishwanath, you can ask question. N. Vishwanath, are you there? S. Sondher, you can ask question.
Someone has put a question in the chat again.
Yeah, Spandan Das. Which softwares are we going to learn for application development?
Can you elaborate on the question, please, Spandan?
Sure, sir. Like, I am a non-tech guy. Like, I have completed my BTech from electronics telecommunication, and I have worked for around 4 to 5 years. And I want to learn for a full stack web development course. I want to do the full stack web development course, and after doing that course, I want to switch my career to data science or application development. I have my I want to do in future I have plans to have my own startup. So I am going to get the projects and how I am going to do the application development, what softwares I am going to learn in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you're talking about learning software, learning about application development, right?
Yes, sir.
So for application development, again, like you can pick up any programming language that you want to. Generally, like we were just talking about JavaScript right now, so maybe learn about JavaScript a little bit, how it works and what it is used for. And I think that should be a good starting point for.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, we have someone ABCXYZ who's asking question. That sir, how about Moon Stack? Is it worth learning it? And how about its future?
MERN stack is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. From those four technologies, Mongo and Express are already sort of falling behind, because for MongoDB, Mongo is a good database, but it's a NoSQL database. People prefer using SQL databases, relational databases with NoSQL capabilities, and Postgres is more popular nowadays. Even when I was starting out in 2016, I didn't really see people using MongoDB a lot, and I was seeing like the trend towards Postgres. And I guess the easiest way to answer this question for yourself again, without hearing it from me, is going to Stack Overflow surveys, or looking at Hacker News, or looking at GitHub, the latest GitHub projects, and seeing what people are building their apps in. But since this question was asked here again, like MongoDB is not a bad database, but people are more likely to use Postgres. Express is not a bad library, but it is unmaintained. It has been unmaintained for a while now and has had no new features. And Fastify, which is a library which was created by a core Node.js contributor. So a person who was involved in Node.js itself, he has created a library called Fastify, which is in most ways better than Express. And React and Node.js are definitely like the React runs on Node.js. So like I feel like MERN is a very bad acronym. So you should just focus on this at the moment. Postgres and Fastify, and then React and Node.js.
Okay, we have next question. How Tata Steel is helpful for us if we got job in that?
I don't know.
Okay. We have next question. So how can you join? How you can join in Meta as a software engineer? Please give a small tip to join.
So Divya Jeevan, again, I sort of described my journey into Meta. It wasn't an easy journey. I have been programming since I would say like 2013-ish. So 2013 to 2019. 2019 is when I graduated. So by the time I had graduated, I had already, I guess, 6 years of experience doing programming on my own. And then after that, I had to get like 4 years of work experience and also build things online to like have people look at it. So by the time I actually joined it, I had like 10 years of programming experience in total. So if you want to, so I sort of lucked into my opportunity at Meta because I had the right skills and the right network. For you, the journey might be different. So yeah, the first step is to get a job as a web developer before getting a job as a software engineer in Meta.
What are you learning at the moment?
I am learning several things. I am learning about the human, what's it called? The HID API, Human Interface Device API. So using that API, you can connect any external HID device into your browser and interact with the web page using that. I am trying to build applications on top of GraphQL to make GraphQL development easier. I am trying to build apps on web containers so that we can sort of have an online IDE where we can run any programming language on the web. And yeah, apart from that, I'm also trying to run meetups in London. So lots of things.
And we have next question from Divya Jeevan. In which language you have of that you have in your 10 years experience?
Again, the programming language choice is very, very much personal to you. At the start, I was doing Unity, so that involved C# development. I was doing C++ in my high school as well. So C# and C++ for 2 years. For the next 4 years during my college, it was C++, Java, Python, and a little bit of JavaScript. But in my own projects, I was using JavaScript. So that was like 3 years of JavaScript. And I mean, again, I don't like to talk about libraries and frameworks because all of it runs on JavaScript. So by JavaScript, you can assume that it was any library or a framework like the MERN stack or whatever. And after that, my job has mostly been JavaScript and Python again. So I would say all in all, the maximum experience I've had is with JavaScript or TypeScript, whatever you want to call it. And the rest has been other programming languages, depending on whatever application I was working.
Okay. Audience, you can post your questions online. We have next question. What tech stack do you suggest for backend?
Depends on what you want to build. Is my answer for that, because again, I'm trying to emphasize that the programming language doesn't matter. What matters is, are you able to gain a mastery in it, and is it good enough for you for the things that you want to build? So that is the wrong question to ask, I would say.
Okay. Anyone who wants to ask question, they can just put their questions in the chat box and I'll read it. Anybody? Okay, we have next question from the show. That how do you evaluate a company when looking out for new opportunities, and how to find a company with great engineering culture?
How do I evaluate companies? So you have to build your own metrics. So what is great engineering culture for you? For someone, it might be they want to work long hours because they love engineering and they want to spend all of their time at work. For some, it might be that they don't want to spend a lot of time at work and they want to work remotely. So, I mean, whatever is the right fit for you, you just look for that in companies where you're applying. And also, I mean, one tip that I can give is, like, when you're interviewing at companies, try to ask questions which give you a signal about the things that you're looking for as well. So maybe you can ask, like, how many hours in a week do you work? Do you do overtime? Do you work in weekends? Stuff like that. And I mean, if you're into it, then good for you. If you're not, then you know that you don't want to apply at that company.
Okay, we have next question from Divyaji. That how much CGPA will matter to join in Meta?
If a company asks for your CGPA, for me, the answer is that if a company asks me for my CGPA, then that's a company that I don't want to work at.
Okay.
So it depends on whether you, I mean, Meta doesn't care about CGPA, but if I mean, I don't think any company should care about that as well.
So is it a kind of myth that the people who are basically the toppers can go in a good company and not the average ones?
Yeah, that is a myth. And also, if you read books around this or read articles around whether someone who is good at academics, I wouldn't say a topper. The right term would be someone who is good at academics. Is he more likely to succeed or not? And in most cases, people who are good at academics tend to succeed at jobs where the scenario is similar to that in academics. So they are good professors, scientists, and teachers. But generally, in a field like engineering, it isn't as applicable, I guess.
Okay, so that's a good news, I guess. Thank you for just clearing the myth, because most of the people in our nation thinks that the people who are good in their academics can just lead towards a better future, and not the average ones or the backbenchers. And we have lots of examples that they did well, actually, but in a society, the people didn't accept that, right? We have everything like that.
Yeah.
You should go for this. You should always be a topper and like that, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for just clearing the myth, the audience. Our next question is how to apply in Meta for a job. I guess you have given the answer to that, but if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. Divyajivan, it would be helpful for you to rewatch the talk again whenever they upload it, rather than me answering the question again, because I think I've already answered it.
Okay. Next question is, but for on campus, they do not allow below 9 CG.
Again, like, no advice is specific. Everyone can only give you generic advice which you apply to your own life. if you want to go for on-campus jobs, and if you have less than 9 CGPA, then you need to get 9 CGPA. Then I mean, whatever I say can't change that fact.
Okay. Describe your ideal environment as a developer in Meta.
I can't say anything about any specific company. About my ideal environment, again, that is very much specific to me at this point in my life. So I can't speak about that as well.
Okay. Anyone wants to ask any questions? Just put in the chat box. We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes left. We can take your questions. Okay. There's one question of mine that when people go for on-campus or if they go for the off-campus, the people who are in Meta right now and they're selected for the on-campus one, there's something different with the on-campus and the off-campus one?
Is there something different with the roles? I think so there's a myth of the on-campus job. I mean, it's a reality in India, I guess, but in most countries, there's no on-campus job as such. Like people, I mean, there are career fairs, and those career fairs are open to students of any other college as well. So it's not like you are forced to go to specific career fairs in your own college, and then you aren't able to apply for any other jobs outside. So, I mean, that's a thing which is very specific to India. So I don't think there is as much of a difference here, at least. I mean, even in India, there wouldn't be much of a difference if you applied within the campus or outside of the campus.
The level of interview would be same, I guess, for both of them.
Maybe. It depends, I guess.
Shibu Sani, please just mute your mic, please. Shibu Sani. Okay, so it was a privilege to talk to you, Akash. We have one more question. We have one more question. If you just ready to answer that.
Sure. Which one? Sorry.
If I'm not a technical student, how can I can join a Meta for a job? And next one is, GSA plays a vital role in selection.
For Isha, again, watch the whole interview again, and I have already answered that question. For the last one, does GSA play a vital role in selection round? Depends on the company you're applying at. Is the answer.
Okay. So thank you, Akash. It was very nice to talk to you. And if I summarize all your things, that a person should be very much interested in his own work, should get mastery of whatever he is learning or she is learning. And that person will definitely reach the goal and definitely had created milestones in his life, like he. Yeah, hardly your marks matters, your college matters. So these are all myths. So don't believe in them, in all these things. Just believe in yourself, and definitely you can do wonders, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and clearing out all the myths and just giving the information about the Meta and all the things and all the languages and all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you all the audience for joining us today. I hope you all have got your answers, and definitely we'll have a few lectures again with Akash. I'll try my little best that he can join us again. So thank you so much.